In just one day, a young woman is recovering from a concussion with the most advanced science and innovation available anywhere. Another woman, working her way back from a stroke, is building her strength. Across town, a man is regaining his dexterity, while another walks upright when it was once thought impossible. This miraculous brew of innovation, discovery, and compassion has the deepest of roots, going back to the vision of one Richmond woman who lit the fuse that sparked the creation of Sheltering Arms.
There was a wonderful woman named Rebekah Peterkin. She was the daughter of the rector of St. James's Episcopal Church in the heart of Richmond. And in her father's parish, she saw numbers of people who were ill and couldn't afford health care. So she persuaded her church sewing circle to become the first chapter of King's Daughters and Sons. And their project was to start this new hospital.
Rebekah's personal mission, combined with an astonishing ability to lead others into action, quickly became a reality. The Sewing Circle of Women went about gathering donations, finding everything from blankets to discarded kitchen utensils. They then mopped the floors and scrubbed the walls of the newly obtained building. On February 13, 1889, Sheltering Arms was born. No one can possibly know how many thousands of lives Rebekah Peterkin's seedling of an idea saved and enhanced across 3 different centuries. Tragically, she saw little of that effort come to fruition. Only 2 years after Sheltering Arms opened, Rebekah Peterkin died. She was 42 years old. Her vision, however, was alive in the hearts and minds of the people who joined her in this endeavor. Through depression and prosperity, Sheltering Arms grew, moving into the Grant House, a former private home transformed into a hospital. This is where Sheltering Arms began to build its reputation as a place where patients in financial distress could get high-quality, compassionate health care. Much of it due to 2 nurses who became institutions in and of themselves. Natalie Curtis and Hazel Hill spent decades creating the Sheltering Arms standard of patient care. This approach solidified the foundation for Sheltering Arms' enduring reputation. Nurses, volunteer doctors, and staff supported the patients. Richmond's community supported the hospital. And patients, many of whom had little money and even fewer possessions, did everything they could to repay Sheltering Arms for their service, including adding a few culinary delights to the hospital's pantry. It was often left to the man known as the Dean of Orderlies, Foster Barry, to make sure all the donated food, from the laboratory pigs to the roadkill venison, was butchered and ready to eat.
We never told the nurses where the meat came from. We used to get a lot of venison. Roadkills, the state police would bring in venison. And we had the operating room orderly was a butcher, and he butchered these deer. That meat was good meat.
For 79 years, the Grant House on Clay Street provided an oasis of healing for people far and wide who simply could not afford the care they needed. The opportunity to move out of the Clay Street building and transition into a more modern hospital came with the 1957 opening of Richmond Memorial Hospital in the city's north side.
If Sheltering Arms was going to move, there was room for it to move and build a new hospital and have it not only adjacent to, but physically connected to Richmond Memorial Hospital.
Compared to the old house on Clay Street, the hospital was a modern medical marvel. And yet Sheltering Arms' most significant traditions were infused in the brick and mortar of this new hospital.
I do believe that making that initial decision to keep as much of the old as was good and applicable and bring that to the new, I think was really important in keeping the soul of Sheltering Arms intact.
The Richmond community supported Sheltering Arms through this transition, and oftentimes they had a really good time doing it. Since 1925, the Junior Board of Sheltering Arms worked to raise money through a great variety of fundraisers. But in 1957, they hit upon an idea that has become a cherished Richmond tradition, the Bal du Bois.
In December, when they have signed up, we do bring them to the hospital where they take a tour of the hospital and learn what goes on. And then many of the women who start as sponsors, they go on to volunteer at the hospital. They go on to volunteer at some of the club rec facilities around town.
The first Bal de Bois raised more than $8,000 for the hospital. Since that first night of dancing, the Junior Board has raised more than $2 million for Sheltering Arms. Just 4 years after Sheltering Arms moved into their new location next door to Richmond Memorial Hospital, the need for a free acute care hospital came into question.
From 1973 to 1979, they were studying as to what the future role of Sheltering Arms would be.
We had a number of members of our board who went around to visit other hospitals offering different kinds of services and decided on rehabilitation as a coming need.
On January 4th, 1981, after 7 years of painstaking effort, Sheltering Arms began service as Richmond's premier physical therapy rehabilitation hospital.
There was never any indication or inclination that they would not change the TLC that they would give to every patient that came through their doors.
What I want you to do is, as you see your legs bending and straightening, I want you to try to do that with your legs, with the robot, okay?
It's no stretch to say that Rebekah Peterkin and her sewing circle of friends would be astonished at what has blossomed from the small seed they planted so many years ago. Rebekah Peterkin's vision is extending well into the 21st century, all in the unwavering commitment to help each and every patient find the power to overcome.